Hello, my name is Alva Liljeqvist. I'm a level designer and this is a commentary playthrough of my portfolio piece The Last Crossing. For this playthrough, I won't take damage from enemies, just to make it a bit easier to talk about the design aspects of the level. So, let's get straight into it. The level starts with the player being funneled into a cave opening, leading to a harder reveal of the level and the ongoing alien invasion. This vista highlights three key landmarks: the cannon, the cathedral, and our ultimate goal, the Great Bridge, which we must reach to evacuate the planet. As the player enters the cave system, they encounter the first enemy, alien spiders that hatch from purple eggs when the player gets too close. Not all eggs hatch, however, and they can be shot from a distance to prevent potential spawns. This area acts as a soft combat encounter, introducing basic traversal and combat mechanics. Exiting the cave, the player enters a street section that serves as a decompression zone before being funneled into the next area. Here I bait the player toward a new obstacle, the blue shield. It can't be passed through or destroyed with conventional weapons. By observing the environment, the player discovers a cable tethered to a plasma gun. When picked up, a UI element is displayed which counts the meters the player has left to move away from the tether's anchor while holding the tethered plasma gun, preventing them from walking too far away with it. This weapon can destroy blue shields, and dropping it allows free movement again. The player is then funneled through a portal into a scripted event where a plane is shot down by the cannon, reinforcing the urgency of reaching the bridge. The surrounding architecture is intentionally composed to frame both the cannon and the bridge. Moving down the stairs, we encounter a new short-term goal in the form of our first checkpoint, a recon pod. These function similarly to Souls-like bonfires, restoring health, items, and ammunition while respawning enemies. Another blue shield is visible, but without a tether gun nearby, the player must move on. Here, the player can pick up an assault rifle, which, like previous weapons, is built from a modular system using the same actor and data table. The bazaar area introduces drop pods as enemy spawners. Enemies can spawn with different behaviors, patrolling, idling, or immediately attacking. In this case, they patrol, allowing the player to approach the encounter at their own pace. Their environment is designed to guide movement while controlling sightlines. Ascending the stairs, the player is funneled into a building. Windows add visual interest while providing natural lighting. Descending again, another blue shield appears, with a tether gun positioned above. Since it's out of reach, the player must explore. Backtracking reveals a previously overlooked room containing the tether gun, allowing the player to destroy the shield and progress. This leads to another recon pod. The doorways and windows create a reveal of the plaza and cathedral. Alien eggs bait the player into easy kills, but drop pods soon spawn, forcing a quick shift to defensive play. After clearing the enemies, the player notices there's no tether gun available for the cathedral shield. Turning around reveals the cannon, suggesting a solution. The cannon is deliberately framed by the surrounding architecture, reinforced by the visual effect of drop pod smoke. Approaching the fortress bridge, a turret forces the player off the main path and down to the coastal approach. Here, the player gains the advantage over unaware enemies instead of being ambushed. Progressing through the area, the player discovers an entrance to the fortress. The surrounding space can be used to hide optional loot and collectibles. Inside, a blue light draws attention upward, while another blue shield blocks progress. In an adjacent room, a tether gun is found, though its anchor appears damaged. Retrieving it allows the player to destroy the shield and loop back to the bazaar, reconnecting to a recon pod. How neat! Attempting to reach the blue shield in the previous room reveals the cable's limited range. However, shooting the anchor extends its reach, enabling progression. This interaction introduces a deeper layer to the mechanic. A surprise encounter follows as spiders rush out, subverting player expectations. The room beyond is filled with eggs, offering the choice to engage or bypass. Climbing upwards leads the player to a balcony which extends out to the fortress facade. A scripted event triggers as the bridge begins to collapse, increasing tension. The player character is positioned to frame this moment. Re-entering the fortress, the player reaches an upper floor. Walls are shaped to prevent camera collision during tight turns, ensuring smooth navigation. Exiting the doorway triggers planes flying overhead. The staircase visually suggests a downward path, but progression requires climbing the cliff instead, though the area can reward exploration with hidden loot or collectibles. From above, the player gains a clear view of the cannon and cathedral. A lone enemy below can be eliminated easily, but jumping down triggers additional enemy spawns. This avoids the door problem, preventing the player from safely clearing the encounter from a vantage point and forcing them to engage with the encounter as designed. After eliminating the enemies, the player can now operate the cannon to destroy the cathedral shield. Walking down the stairs, we see where that blue light came from. As we walk through this hallway, it is revealed that we have now looped back to a previously explored area. We spot a few ways we can progress from here, but lowering this electrical bridge lets us access the bizarre recon pod yet again. A loop within a loop. Have a lovely. Walking back up and taking the left path leads the player behind the turret that was shooting at them before. It can be easily destroyed from behind. The fortress bridge then provides a strong visual and spatial connection back to the plaza and cathedral. But where would the player have ended up if they chose to walk right by the electrical bridge? This path leads above the bazaar and onto the church courtyard. This space can host additional encounters, loot, or maybe even a secret boss. A tether gun here can unlock a previously inaccessible area down by the bazaar, rewarding exploration. This room has the potential to store even more loot or rare collectibles. If the player, however, brings the tether gun down the stairs, they can open up yet another level loop that connects to the plaza recon pod. Another level loop within a level loop. It never gets old. Approaching the plaza from any of the two routes will spawn in the drop pods again. It was a fun challenge to design this combat encounter to work from two different angles, while not breaking any sightlines or the level flow. I purposefully designed the cover placements to make the encounter a bit harder when approaching it from the fortress bridge, and I think it worked out pretty well. One thing to note is that the drop pods themselves also work as dynamic cover. Inside the cathedral, the player encounters another shield with a visible tether gun hinting at the solution. Exploration leads to another recon pod. The architecture in the scene frames the bridge at close range, emphasizing its scale. A short side path offers a callback view to the fortress and cannon, with more possibilities to hide loot and collectibles. Deeper inside, a patrolling enemy is easily dispatched. The player is then baited out toward a balcony, revealing that the tether gun is just on the other side. Turning around, they spot a path that could potentially get them there. With the tether gun acquired, the player can destroy the shield and activate an elevator. This activates the shield again, cutting the tether but leaves the weapon functional, creating a power fantasy where the player can move freely with it. Enemies spawn during the ascent but pose little threat as the plasma gun deals massive damage. At the top, the player exits through another cave, revealing the town from a new perspective. Passing aircrafts are timed with a trigger for added cinematic effect. Climbing upward leads to the Great Bridge, where enemies spawn in using drop pods once more. When the player steps out onto the bridge, a final climactic event happens as it starts to tip and the player begins to slide. A well-timed jump lets them survive the collapsing bridge, and they are rewarded with a vista of the level, now from the completely opposite side of where they started. The player can climb through the support beams and reach the top. Where a vista of the level is shown once again. They can then proceed through the tunnel, reach the evacuation point, and flee this doomed planet. My name is Alva Liljeqvist. Thank you for watching this playthrough of my portfolio piece, The Last Crossing. I hope you have a fantastic day.